To introduce our next speaker, please welcome to the stage Christina Lawson, Managing Partner of Hanson Bridget and Chair of the Bay Area Council.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. We're absolutely thrilled to be here in San Jose for the Pacific Summit this year. What a great city in the heart of Silicon Valley, the innovation and technology capital of the world. And what an exciting time for San Jose, a city that leads the nation in patents per capita and boasts twice as many patents as a little city just north of here, up the road. And San Jose is just getting started under the leadership of Mayor Matt Mahan, himself a successful startup and tech founder and entrepreneur. He was recently elected to a second term with an overwhelming 87% of the vote. You heard that right, 87%. And he is bringing new energy and ideas to building on San Jose's already tremendous success. Through a targeted economic development strategy that emphasizes partnering with and empowering the private sector, Mayor Mahan is working to create a world-class AI incubator and ecosystem here in downtown San Jose, which is already home to more than 25 leading AI companies, including global giant NVIDIA. He's also working to leverage the power of AI to provide best-in-class city services, from fixing potholes to improving traffic safety. And if you follow Mayor Mahan on social media, you know that he's also taking on the challenges of homelessness, public safety, and blight. I don't think a week goes by that the mayor isn't out in the city's many neighborhoods, planting trees, picking up garbage, and removing graffiti. He really walks the talk. And he's championing new investments and new approaches to bringing unhoused residents indoors and getting them the help that they need. The Bay Area Council is proud to be a co-sponsor with Mayor Matt Mahan on statewide legislation this year to speed the creation of interim housing, a fast, affordable, and good quality type of housing that can dramatically reduce our unsheltered homeless population. So please join me in welcoming our next speaker, Mayor Matt Mahan. And to lead the conversation, please also welcome Kevin Hart, Senior Vice President for Strategic Development and Technology for Kaiser Permanente in Northern California. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Mayor Mahan.
Good afternoon. Just call me Matt, please.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to sunny San Jose, if you haven't been here before.
All right, let me start with the hot question first, right? You and I are both technology guys, so AI as a major focus of your plans to bring new investments to San Jose, including an initiative that you launched last October to provide financial and other incentives to attract AI companies to the city. What's been the response to your plan?
Great. Well, Kevin, looking forward to our conversation. And once again, welcome. Thank you for having me to have this dialogue with Kevin. You know, I think the best way to transform a city is to look at trends, look at what is changing, where the growth is, and then try to harness that to drive better government, economic development, greater opportunities. So we've tried to do that in a few ways. Obviously, AI is all the rage, and for good reason. Technology, machines have incredible capabilities that we're just beginning to harness, and I believe firmly that the Luddites are always wrong and will be wrong again. This is not about replacing human beings. This is about augmenting and bringing new tools to bear on the work that we're doing. So the way I've been thinking about it, I'm just going to quickly break it down into a few categories. One has been making government better. Another is thinking about education and workforce development. And then the third is what you referenced, which is economic development and how we partner with the private sector. On the first, we are looking, and we're very lucky to have an extremely talented IT department in San Jose, and we're looking to leverage new tools to improve our delivery of city services. I'll give you an example that's very straightforward. We have city vehicles or contracted vehicles that cover every mile of every road every week. So we've begun outfitting them, just as a pilot, with sensors to identify basic challenges at the street level. Automated pothole detection. Why should anyone ever have to damage their vehicle, pull over, get angry, call 311, and ask somebody to fill a pothole? We should automatically, preemptively, proactively detect, report, and get fixed the potholes, the streetlights that are out, the graffiti that we find, the illegal dumping, the abandoned vehicles. We respond to 300,000 calls for service every year. We should be able to automate all of the reporting of that. That's also an equity play because we know that it's the people who have the time and access and knowledge of how to navigate the bureaucracy who get those basic services. So automated reporting across the city is a way to improve our delivery of services. That's one example. We're applying AI to language translation, procurement. My dream is to automate permitting so you can get your permit issued in 48 hours. There's really no need for it to take 18 months because we have objective building standards. Theoretically, it's an objective process. We have building codes, we have zoning, we have all these standards, and you fill out an application that is structured data. There's really no reason why two machines can't talk to one another and sort of identify the gaps, the deficiencies, and then save the human labor for the edge cases, the more creative work. So we should be automating permitting. Anyway, on the education piece, I'll just say this. We have the tech just down the block here. 250,000 students every year come through the tech. We have San Jose State. We produce more technical degrees every year than any other university in the state of California. We need to make sure that every young person from preschool through higher ed has access to these tools and the ability to experiment and learn how to use them because we're entering a more technology-enabled future. And then finally on economic development, we are trying to bring accelerators and incubators downtown, but more broadly, I want the city to welcome small businesses, entrepreneurs, reduce the regulatory burden, reduce the challenges of things like tenant improvements, and really facilitate an ecosystem. We have 25 companies with $1 billion in venture capital working in AI just here in the downtown core, and we're working to bring them together and figure out how to maybe make government their first customer in some cases. So really trying to facilitate that ecosystem.
That's perfect, Matt. And part of the conversation, and you talked about it yourself, is the bureaucracy. So lots of conversations globally, federally, and at the state level around regulating AI. So what's your take on that? And what do you think could be particularly difficult as you try to grow jobs, try to grow investments, and expand it for San Jose?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'm particularly concerned about this impulse to anticipate and address every risk factor. We do have a responsibility in government for keeping people safe. I think we should identify the greatest risks, create some basic rules of the road. The way we've handled this in San Jose is we've worked with an outside group of experts and community members to define basic privacy controls and transparency rules around our use of AI in local government. So we've created the framework and the rules of the road. But beyond that, I'm encouraging us to not add a bunch of new rules and regulations. This space is changing so fast that we just can't anticipate where it's going to be in 5 years, even 6 months, right? And so I think that we need to be very careful. I'm worried, for example, about the push in the state legislature to allow virtually any city to decide how they want to regulate autonomous vehicles. That basically means we're going to push autonomous vehicles elsewhere. They're going to go to other states, other countries. So I'm very opposed to that approach. We need to do the basics to ensure people are safe, particularly physically safe, but beyond that, we need to encourage innovation and work with industry to evolve our regulations over time.
Thank you for that. Switching gears, going into homelessness, and we talked a little bit about this backstage. While we're addressing homelessness, and I know it's been one of the top priorities for you and your administration, and certainly one of the most challenging issues in California, what's one of the biggest surprises for you in taking on this complex issue, and why do you think solutions are so elusive?
Yeah, these are big questions, and I don't know how many hours you all have, but I'll say one of the pleasant surprises has been that as we have tried to get more pragmatic and have a spectrum of solutions, yes, we need to continue to build affordable housing. I would submit to you that we are not going to address the housing supply gap simply through publicly subsidized affordable housing. That's an important piece for our lowest income residents, but we have to really look at the larger barriers we've created in the housing production market. California's essentially broken the housing production market, and we're gonna have to figure that side out. At the other end of the spectrum, though, I firmly believe that we have to move as quickly and cost effectively as possible to create a safe, managed place for every single person out on the streets to be today. So we have been standing up quick build modular units that come off an assembly line and are incredibly cost effective to deploy. We're standing up safe parking sites. I'm pushing the council to look at safe sleeping sites. We've done a lot with motel conversions. We were one of the first cities to really embrace the home key model. We've got to create places where people can be stabilized, and what has surprised me is how effective it can be. These quick build communities with these little modular units look kind of like my crummy dorm room in freshman year of college. We've got 3 years of data, almost 2,000 people served now at these sites that we've built. 70% of people remain housed today. 50% have graduated to permanent housing. When you get somebody stabilized in a safe environment, connect them to services, give them the ability to get counseling, deal with addiction, get job training, reconnect with family and that supportive network, again, people can find ways out of homelessness. They can find the way to something better. The problem is just trying to deliver those services to a tent encampment down by the creeks doesn't work. And so we've got to get people stabilized faster. We're spending a heck of a lot of money just managing the symptoms of unsheltered homelessness. We've got to commit ourselves as a state, and we really need a statewide framework. We can't just expect the 5 biggest cities to solve this for the entire state of California. We need to build basic, dignified shelter connected to supportive services for everybody out on the streets. And when it's available, I frankly think we need to require that people come indoors.
Say a little bit. Yeah, that's fantastic. Aligned with that interim housing and the great work you're doing here in San Jose is talk about supporting the legislation by Senator Josh Becker on fast-tracking and streamlining this type of shelter so that we can get more people in sooner and taking them from interim to permanent housing. Talk a little about supporting that legislation as well.
Yeah, well, it's been great to work with Senator Becker on that. The model is to take what we're doing in San Jose. I mentioned we have these 500 quick build sites across 6 different communities. We have another 800 units in the pipeline, assuming the city council approves our budget in a couple of weeks. And we want to make it easier for other cities to replicate what we're doing around interim housing, which really just means streamlining. It should not take a year to get an approval to put tiny homes or modular units on government-owned land. The other innovation, and Senator Becker's been very supportive of this, is making it easy and removing zoning restrictions for those with private property. We've just broken ground on our first quick build community on privately owned land. John Sobrato gave the city a 10-year, $1 a year lease on an empty field that he and his company do not plan to develop anytime soon. They've bought it for the future, and in the interim, they're willing to let the city stand up 100 sleeping cabins that will be an immediate alternative for people in tent encampments today. So just removing zoning restrictions, eliminating CEQA review, and ensuring that we can turn those around quickly if a private property owner wants to lease us the land.
That's just fantastic. And recently, you made a trip with the Bay Area Council to Vancouver, British Columbia, to see how that city is focusing on denser, affordable, and market rate. And sometimes market rate ain't affordable. We know about that around here. Affordable housing, I won't say market rate, that really spurs urban vibrancy. Talk a little bit about what you learned there, and especially how Vancouver is tackling the problem and trying to make it more affordable for more members of their city.
Yeah, it was a fascinating trip. I want to thank the Bay Area Council, and West Bank hosted us. We had a chance to go around Vancouver and look at some of the big housing projects. The thing that really struck me, especially if you're spending most of your time here in the Bay Area, was the scale at which they were building housing. We take each project one by one. It takes a couple years to get entitlements and permits and get the capital together and then go break ground and build this thing. They're building almost campuses, multi-building sites that are mixed use, that are master planned to connect to transit. They're harnessing district energy systems to reduce the energy demand by up to 80%. They're thinking holistically and at scale. So West Bank took us out to see 2 big projects under development, thousands of housing units, millions of square feet of commercial and retail use, designed in a comprehensive way. The closest thing I can think of, frankly, that is a little bit comparable here, but not even close to the scale, is just how successful Santana Row has been. You have one site with multiple buildings, mixed use, and it's kind of high end to your point about pricing people out. I think we need to do this for missing middle communities. But the fact that they're doing it at scale and really thinking about everything a community needs, from sustainability goals to public space to retail space, and that's what I think the promise of our downtown is really thinking holistically about a dense, mixed-use, walkable space with ample public space. Speaking of which, if you haven't been over to San Pedro Square, we just painted the largest mural in the South Bay on San Pedro Street, which we just shut down permanently to vehicular traffic, and kind of gives you an example of what that kind of mixed-use urban environment can look like.
And then when you talk about that mixed use, you have to include all the vacancies in the offices and all the downtowns across the Bay Area. And across the country, lots of businesses and cities have been trying to deal with this. And as you think about that mixed use capability you saw in Vancouver, how might that then apply to the vacancy of offices in downtown San Jose and helping with affordability of housing, creating that sort of campus-like environment where you have multiple capabilities in the same location?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me just, in response to that, I want to start by saying that I think we have to be humble about what government can do. We cannot force people, we can't mandate people back into the private office space. We're certainly back in the mayor's office at City Hall. We're back 5 days a week in person. But yes, we do need more of that. But I think what we need to focus on, and I've talked a lot about getting local government back to basics, is creating the environment where people want to come into work, want to spend time. And there's an interesting trend in downtown San Jose, and I don't know that we're unique in this, but we're probably a bit more pronounced in some ways. Our office workers are back to about 85% of pre-pandemic traffic. When you just look at Monday through Friday working hours, how many cell phones are downtown, it's about 85%. Nights and weekends, we're at 120%. We've actually had the second highest, fastest rebound of any downtown in the country, believe it or not, after Las Vegas. And so I think what's working is what I would call the experience economy. It's people want to be in places that are walkable, are human scale, where there's art, where there's public space, where they can meet face to face. We're social animals, and whether you're coming into work or you're hanging out with friends, or it's actually that environment that starts to blend these experiences. And I think the way to get people to come back to the office in a place like downtown is to get everything else right around it. The employees and the employers will work out the terms of engagement and the requirements and all of that. But if we create a downtown that is safe, that is clean, that's vibrant, that has programmed public space, that has public art, I mean, these are the kinds of things that make people want to be in a space and make you start to think, maybe I don't want to sit on my couch for another day of clicking on my keyboard and logging into Zoom. It's actually not all that fulfilling, to be honest with you. I'd rather walk down the street and go out to lunch with a friend, while I'm working. So anyhow, I think that's the way we're going to move things forward. And as you're here and you walk around the downtown, I hope you feel like we're starting to create that kind of environment where you would want to spend more time.
Outstanding. And along with creating capabilities for affordable housing, having that great mix of uses in the downtown area and throughout San Jose, there's also the attention and debate about bringing BART to San Jose and Silicon Valley and to create that transit hub downtown. Talk a little bit about where you think that is. What does it mean for San Jose's economic future and vitality, and the connections from the city throughout the region?
Yeah, so obviously BART has been in the news a lot lately, and I guess I'd sort of offer two thoughts on it. One is, yes, these projects are expensive, and this is not a BART-specific reality. Every major infrastructure project in the country has seen 30-40% cost increases in just the last couple of years. It is also the fact that in the United States, it costs significantly more per mile to do rail projects above or below ground. And that is a systemic issue we have to look at. That's environmental review processes and the entire process of approving and funding and building projects. And that is not a BART-specific issue. So big picture, I think we want to be a country that still does big things. We should find ways to do it more effectively, more efficiently. We should look at those systemic issues that affect all rail projects, all big infrastructure projects. But this is a generational investment that will pay dividends for years to come. I mean, you don't build the New York subway system just for the people alive at that time. You build it because 100 years later, it enabled the incredible growth and economic opportunity that a city like New York has today. The West Coast, particularly the Bay Area, will have to figure out how to design mobility solutions for the next 100, 200 years, and I think regional rail is going to play an important role in that. So I think we need to do this, and the sooner we get going on it, the cheaper it will be. The longer we dither, the more expensive it's going to get. So I think we need to do it. The other thing I'll just say is, there have been a lot of calls this year for rethinking the project, abandoning the project, redesigning it, dropping stations, on and on and on. And look, they're all valid questions, but I'd say this. They were really valid 4 or 5 years ago when we were designing the project and beginning the environmental clearance, and they may be valid again at the end of the year when we figure out what the federal government's commitment is. But this year, this moment, where we've secured the local and state funding, when we're just waiting on the feds to tell us how they value the project and how much money they're going to put in, I think we ought to follow through on the process and see where we are at the end of the year. And if the federal government comes in with the commitment we think they're going to come in with, let's get going and stop dithering. And if they don't, then I'll be the first to say we need to all huddle up and talk about the design of the system. And that'll be a very appropriate conversation to have at that time.
Thank you so much. Now let's talk about San Jose, the greater San Jose. It's geographically sprawling with diverse neighborhoods and needs. How are you thinking about balancing priorities for revitalizing downtown with the needs of the rest of the city, and how are they related?
It's a great question, and they are completely symbiotic. A thriving downtown generates the tax base to fund the services that we need in our neighborhoods. It also creates the destination where people living, as my wife and I do with our 2 little kids, in the quieter, more suburban neighborhoods. It gives us a destination, a place to go to access museums and art and culture and nightlife and to have fun things to do. And so a great city has both. It has family-friendly neighborhoods, which a downtown can be, by the way, and it has thriving, diverse, dynamic urban spaces with a lot of public amenities. And we need both. It's not an either or, and in fact, the growth of either one actually supports the other. And so I'm a huge believer in downtown, but that's not in any way to detract from the great neighborhoods we have. My favorite experience of running for mayor was wandering around the sprawling neighborhoods of San Jose, knocking on doors, just talking to people about what they wanted from their city. You'd be surprised, the farthest reach of the city, it can take you 45 minutes to drive from end to end in this city. People said, I want more to do. I want to be excited about our downtown. When's BART coming? Can you get a baseball team? I mean, that's the kind of stuff people bring up. They want a thriving urban center to come spend time in.
Fantastic. And then aligned with that sprawling, thriving downtown is the role of business, the business community in helping to address the key challenges like homelessness, public safety, and also helping to revitalize realize the broader visions of achieving a more economically vibrant and inclusive city. How would you describe your partnership with the business community?
I think we've had a great relationship thus far. I'll leave it to the business community to tell me how you think we're doing, but that's kind of my background. I came out of the tech startup world, and when I think about the role of business, first and foremost, I think the number one job of a company is to legally and ethically design goods and services that add value to the world, and to be innovative and to keep growing and delivering more and more value to their customers. And that actually it's been the growth of our great companies that is a big part of the reason why the San Jose metro area over the last 30 years, when Harvard economist Raj Chetty did a study, actually found that we were better at creating upward mobility for a diverse population, for any population, than any other city in the country. It's because we had economic growth. It's because we had companies go from 2 people in a garage to 50,000 employees. That's why we were better at welcoming immigrants from all over the world and creating massive upward mobility. Raj Chetty found we moved more people from the lower quintile to the top quintile economically than any other city in the United States. That was only possible because of economic growth and the innovation and dynamism that we have here. So job number 1 is to, again, ethically, responsibly, not breaking any laws, but go be global competitors, create great companies, deliver great goods and services. And that's even, true for the really tiny small business scene. We have 60,000 small businesses in San Jose. Again, largely because we're a city of immigrants. We are 40% foreign born. 57% of our households speak a language other than English at home. My wife's still trying to get me to speak Spanish to the kids, which I'm not very good at, but she's fluent in. So, that dynamic, diverse, marketplace is critical. I would say, though, that for companies that are able to do more, I would ask you, even if you're a big global company, to think about ensuring the health and well-being of our region and investing in institutions like the Tech and San Jose State and our library system. And you can find your niche for your mission for your CSR budget. If it's housing, which we've had a lot of big announcements about housing over the years, let's think about impact investing. Let's directly invest in building housing and have the proceeds go into subsidizing more affordable units. I think there are a lot of interesting models we can be exploring for CSR budgets and impact investing, but I think job number 1 is to keep us economically competitive.
Great. Well, Matt, you and I could do this all day, and we only have a limited time. I know you have a lot to do. I just want to say thank you for being here today. Thank you for the conversation, and we're very, very supportive of all the great work that you are doing here in the city.
Thanks, Kevin. Really appreciate the great questions. Thank you all. Thanks a lot. That was great.